Hey, I'm going to do the last problem from the review. I'm going to do it with Graphical Analysis 4, and then I'm going to do it again with Logger Pro. So if you are going to use Logger Pro, you can swipe through this video and get to the part that you need. So here, I just went ahead and typed in all the stuff. Those are all the numbers. I think I got them all in there, right? But there's still some stuff left to do here if you want to do this all right and get the full points. So here, these are not X and Y. In this column here, column options, this column is temperature. And the units are, I don't know how to make that little degree sign in this, so I'm just going to say degrees. And it's implied, I guess, that it's Fahrenheit. I think that's good enough. That's a good compromise for what we got. You can bring that degree symbol up in Logger Pro. I'll show you how to do that if you're going to go that direction. Column options here. This is sales in gallons. All right, so I got those on there. Sales in gallons versus temperature in degrees. That'll be the title. So let's go edit graph options and put a title on here. Sales versus temperature. Now, I would like this to be scaled from 0. Right? I'd like this to include the origin. Right now, it's just scaling it so that the lowest value in each of these columns is where we are at here. So in the same place and graph options, I would like these minimum values to be 0. I'm just going to highlight those, type in 0, so I can see where the origin is, right? That looks pretty good there. Now, that does definitely look pretty linear. So I'm going to go ahead and apply curve fit. My first option is linear. Apply. I can slide that down a little bit so it's not in the way of my graph. And that looks good. I think I'm ready to go ahead and snip that and get it into my document. So I'm going to go to my snipping tool. You can find it here. You can also, if you're on a Windows machine, you can, let's see, what is it? Shift, the Windows key, and S. And if you're on a Chromebook, you can hit, what was it? You can look it up. I think it's like Alt, Shift, and then the little Windows key up at the top, maybe. Anyway, if you're not sure, there's this thing called the internet. You can just type in screen snip on Chromebook, and it will come right up. It's amazing, that internet. So here, it's something like what I just told you there. All right. So you can see here, I've saved that to the clipboard. I'm going to go into my Google Doc here and paste my graph in. All right, now the test I'm going to ask you, just like on the review here in part A, asks for, oh, I guess that was part A. Graph. And then for part B, below your graph, use the equation editor in Google Docs to type the equation. Okay, so let's do that. Insert, I'm already bumped up to font size 18, which is good for the equations. Insert equation. And let's see. Y equals mx plus b, but that's not the right names for anything. The y is sales. It is not appropriate to put the units here on this. This is the sales. When you plug a number in here, it's going to be in dollar or in gallons. It would have units coming with it. So here, this is the variable sales. We do not put units on that because it's a variable. Now, the slope, on the other hand, is numbers. So here we do need units. Okay, the slope is 1 point, I'm going to call that 1.3. 1.3. What should the units be on the top? That's the rise over run, gallons. Over on the bottom, I'm always going to put a 1 because 1.3 divided by 1 is equal to 1.3. What should the units be down here? This is degrees. And that is the slope. Sometimes I think I've had a lot of students who feel like once they put in the gallons and the degrees that they've done the putting in the variable part, but we have not. That's just the M. I've got the Y equals M, and now I need my X. That's temperature. And then my intercept is minus 30. Minus 30. What would the units be on the Y-intercept? Well, let's look at the Y-axis. It's gallons. So there we have it. That is a perfectly constructed equation right there. What do we need to do next? I'll explain the meaning of the slope and the Y-intercept. So I've got those all ready to go. Let me just see if I can back that up to there. Meaning of slope. The slope, I'm going to look at the slope here and I'm going to read from the bottom up. For every increase, it's an increase because the slope is positive, of 1 degree Fahrenheit, the sales increase by, for every increase of 1, I said because it's positive, but that's always going to be an increase of 1 on the bottom. If we have a negative sign, we're going to think of the negative going with the top. So for every increase of 1 degree Fahrenheit, the sales increase, because that's positive, by 1.3. It gets 1 degree warmer, this guy could expect to sell 1.3 more gallons. Why would this guy care about doing this mathematical modeling? Well, if he knows what the weather's going to be like, he might be able to predict, make a reasonable guess at how much soda he needs to have on hand to sell. What's the meaning of the Y-intercept? I'm going to give you the literal meaning, and then we'll kind of think about what we'll discuss. So now the real intercept here is like way down here, right? The Y-intercept, this line would extend down here and hit here. So let's see. The Y-intercept is when you have none of this, it's how much of this you have. So meaning of Y-intercept, when the temperature is 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, 0 degrees Fahrenheit, I think you probably know that it's pretty dang cold. It does not often get that cold here in Rockbridge County, Virginia. When the temperature is 0 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 32 below freezing. I'm going to say the equation predicts sales of negative 30 gallons. Well, that's stupid. I mean, that is what the Y-intercept means. But here, I'm just going to add, this is possible. The negative intercept suggests that there will be no sales once the temperature drops to a certain point. And we could probably suggest what that point is looking at the graph. It looks like, around 20 some degrees. But really, I mean, this guy, what is he doing? He's selling soda at a Little League field, right? Guess what? There's no Little League games going on when it's like 24 degrees out. So that's why all the data is up here. So this particular case, the Y-intercept doesn't really make that much sense. It makes more sense to just say, look, you're not going to have Little League games and you're not going to be selling any soda when it gets down below like 50, say, right? So there will be no sales once temperature drops to a certain point, and no games sell at. I'm not going to give you something tricky to interpret there, but literally, I mean, the meaning of the Y-intercept is that when the temperature is 0, the equation predicts negative 30 gallons. Now, of course, you can have negative gallons, but that's literally what it says. So that's what I'll be interested in seeing from you. I could ask you to also do to use the equation, now that you have the equation, to make a prediction. So that's a part that could show up here also. Like if I gave you a temperature, could you predict how much he's going to sell? And sure, you could do that. All right, so let's go ahead and do it in Logger Pro. Maybe I'll do that in a separate video. How about that? So I'll stop this video.